Dear organizers, dear professors, first of all, let me thank you all for your kind invitation. I am very glad to be here, just like a year ago. This is great pleasure and great honor for me to be here. First of all, I would like to tell you that Poland acceded to the European Social Charter in 1997, but chose not to ratify the revised European Social Charter. This is very important. Nor did it ratify the additional protocol to the European Social Charter, introducing a system of collective complaints. It also should be noted that Poland has bound itself to the provisions of all 19 articles of the second part of the Charter, but to the exclusion of some paragraphs of these articles. From the perspective of our study, it is significant that Poland doesn't consider itself bound by the provisions of the Charter in terms of Articles 13 item 1 and 14 item 2. I would like to only mention the regulations under the Polish Constitution which corresponds to the European Social Charter. A detailed descriptions can be found in the chapter I have prepared. It can be said that at a general, unfortunately only at a general, under constitutional level, national regulations are coherent with the adopted regulations of the European Social Charter. And as you can see, under Polish Constitution, we have Article 67. It regulates the right to social security. We have also Article 68, the right to protection of health and the right to equal access to publicly funded health care services. Article 69, assistance to people with disabilities. Article 71, the family's right to state assistance. And Article 72, protection of children's rights. But today, I would like to first of all tell you in details about the place of social law in the national system. Just like a year ago, I told you that under Polish labor law, we don't know what is traineeship. No one knows what it is. So today, I will tell you that no one knows what is social law under Polish legal system, unfortunately. Of course, we know the legal construction of social security, but we don't know the institution of social law at all. It should be noted that it is not legitimate to analyze social law only through the prism of social human rights. In social human rights, it is necessary to see, on the one hand, the concern to ensure the basic conditions of social security for everyone, and on the other hand, to define them in such a way that they cannot be the basis for excessive claims to prosperity and economic equality. The relationship between social human rights and social law is defined as follows. Guarantees for the realization of social human rights, as well as their qualitative and quantitative dimensions, are covered by the regulation of social law. The literature emphasizes that social law occurs in Poland as an area of research and didactics. However, it is questionable whether social law constitutes a separate scientific discipline. This is, however, for example, in Germany. The issues included in social law fall within the scope of other sciences of law, primarily labor law, social security law, and administrative law. The way of defining social law and delimiting its research space is not uniform, and there is no shortage of highly different concepts. According to Professor Sierpowska, this state of affairs is partly due to the lack of legal definition of social law. In the rich literature dealing with social legal issues, systemic studies are not common. One can even get the impression that the doctrine is reserved in defining social law, delimiting its object, scope, and research methods. In Poland, 3 methods of social security are identified: the insurance method, the supply method, and the care method. However, The development of research in the area of social legal topics indicates that the use of the above methods is becoming insufficient. So science has formulated a postulate to distinguish one more system of benefits, social support. According to Professor Nitecki, forms of social support are benefits that meet specific needs, housing allowance, benefits justified by a specific factual situation, unemployment, and help for families raising children, family benefits. The literature notes that the development of the concept of social support could be one of the hallmarks of social law. After all, following Professor Sierpowska, it should be assumed that in Poland, practical, social, didactic, and research considerations argue for the separateness of social law, for the recognition of its own research problems, which require the creation of its own theory. However, regardless of the further development of scientific concepts, it is possible today to treat social law as a separate field for research purposes, especially interdisciplinary research and teaching needs. It is to be hoped that further scientific endeavors will contribute to the identification of the identity of social law and its unquestionable recognition as an independent scientific discipline, just like labor law. But I have to underline it, of course, under Polish legal system, we of course have legal construction of social security. I have described in detail in my chapter the demonstration of compliance with the European Social Charter. We don't have much time, so I'm not able to talk about it in details. I will tell you something about it only during my conclusions. And however, now I would like to tell you about current social regulatory issues, problems regarding sustainability in the light of the demographic challenges. In my opinion, this is the biggest problem in Poland under social law, social security law. In the 1960s, the median age in Poland was 26.4 years and was, along with Iceland, and one of the lowest among European countries. Meanwhile, in 2060, it is expected to reach 51.2 and will be one of the highest in the European economic area, after Romania and Latvia. So consequently, Poland, currently one of the relatively young societies in Europe, will be among the oldest in 2060. Poland is therefore among the European Union countries with the worst demographic prospects. The most critical factors contributing to demographic aging in Poland are falling fertility rates and increasing life expectancy. In addition, a factor affecting the demographic aging of the population in Poland is the aging of the vintage of the post-war baby boomers. It is also worth signaling the low labor force participation of older age groups, which consequently means that the number of pensioners in Poland is higher than the demographic situation would indicate. All these phenomena undoubtedly pose a challenge to Poland's social security and healthcare systems. It is very important to know the political situation. In 2013-2017, as a result of the pension reform, the process of gradually increasing and equalizing the universal retirement age for both sexes to the ceiling of 67 years was underway in Poland. The method used to raise the retirement age slowly means that the indicated retirement age limit was to be reached by men in 2020 and women in 2040. The introduced changes in the retirement age affected the legal regulation of other social benefits. For example, they increased the age that determines the status of an unemployed person and thus enlarged the population potentially eligible for unemployed benefits. Nevertheless, under the Act of 16th of November 2016, amending the Act on Pensions from the Social Insurance Fund and certain other acts, as of the 1st of October 2017, there was a return to the old, in effect before the 1st of January 2013, universal retirement age, 60 for women and 65 for men. Thus, this age gradual increase and equalization for men and women were abandoned. The size of the pension depends on two basic parameters: the sum of contributions accumulated in the insured account, possibly supplemented by initial capital, and the life expectancy. The general rule for determining the monthly pension amount is to divide the sum of indexed contributions by life expectancy. Therefore, lowering the retirement age will significantly impact the monthly pension in the future, as it will reduce the number of accumulated contributions due to increasing life expectancy. This means an increase in the number of people in the future who will become entitled to a guaranteed payment of the lowest pension, financed from the state budget. The possible positive effects of current family policies, resulting in an increase in the fertility rate, cannot change trends, and their mitigating effects will not appear in the labor market until 20 years from now at the earliest. At the same time, the demographic changes facing Poland are so significant that even a renewed increase in the retirement age will not be able to halt the decline in the number of working age people. In none of the considered variants of forecasts does the Polish pension system reach total capacity in the 2060 perspective. The restoration of the previous retirement age has therefore worsened the system's dependency ratio and the financial prospects of the pension fund. The healthcare system is also facing challenges related to the demographic changes and limited possibilities for increasing financial outlays for health. The literature emphasizes that the increase in the number of older people in social life due to increasing life expectancy and reaching old demographic age, as well as the decline in the birth rate in recent years, will cause increasing problems in fulfilling health needs. Conclusions. Unfortunately, in Poland, the state of observance of social rights still doesn't partially correspond to the standards established by the Council of Europe. I would like to also say that in Poland, the state of observance of social rights still doesn't partially correspond to the standards established by the Council of Europe. At the same time, it should be noted that the cyclical negative assessment of the European Committee of Social Rights regarding Poland's realizations of social rights may indicate the low effectiveness of the mechanism of monitoring compliance with the European Social Charter. At the same time, it should be emphasized that Poland is currently facing a huge challenge of containing the demographic crisis and limiting its negative consequences, which requires undertaking deep systemic reforms, particularly in such areas as healthcare, social assistance, employment policy, social insurance, and family policy. Paradoxically, despite the difficult economic situation caused by the COVID-19, this may be the right moment to justify a return to talks on Poland's ratification of the revised European Social Charter, introducing a higher level of social protection. As Professor Binaś notes, guaranteeing the rights under the European Social Charter admittedly requires increased spending from the state budget. However, in the long term, this outlay can be compensated for economic growth, improvement of citizens' quality of life, activation of groups at risk of exclusion or disadvantage in the labor market, and increased confidence in government. Inadequate implementation of the provisions of the European Social Charter and failure to ratify its revised version or the additional protocol may affect the pejorative opinion of Poland in the international arena, unfortunately. Very pessimistic. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.